of a physician who was a professor of medicine at Brown University, and about the arrest and transport to Louisiana of a Columbia grad student. But before I do, Professor John Mearshiemer on the root cause of all of this. When Secretary Rubio rescinds the green card of a person he probably never heard of because of statements the person made on the Columbia University campus last April. This, of course, is a big deal here in New York. It should be a big deal everywhere because it's an attack on freedom of speech like we haven't seen in this country in many generations. But I suspect it is the Trump Department of Homeland Security and DOJ doing a favor for the president's Zionist backers.
The truth is, Judge, that the single greatest threat to freedom of speech in the United States at this point in time is Israel and its supporters here in the United States.
Agree or disagree?
Well, I've been saying that for over a decade.
Right.
What we're seeing isn't new. Israel's been seeking to pass laws at the state level to abrogate the First Amendment and control American speech, to ban companies from exercising their ability to boycott Israel. And now it's all coming to a head. I don't know if this is the culmination, but I'm sure it's not the culmination. What we're witnessing as we see sort of a demise or anxiety within global capitalism, which is integrated into Zionism or integrated with Zionism, is rising authoritarianism in the West. In the UK, there are new laws like the National Security Act, which have resulted in the jailing of dissidents, activists, journalists, simply because they have praised, for example, the Houthis for attempting to stop Israel's siege of Gaza. Richard Medhurst, who's a journalist, was just raided in Vienna. He's being accused of, and he's a British journalist, he's being accused of being a member of Hamas. I mean, we're witnessing a out of control escalation across Europe. In the US, there still is a First Amendment to contend with. So the Trump administration is trying to declare a kind of state of emergency in order to arrest green card holders, permanent residents like Mahmoud Khalil, without any pretext. They've accused him of being a terror sympathizer, of being a terrorist. They've produced no evidence. They've accused him of no crime. And now they're invoking McCarthy-era laws to try to justify his detention, stripping him of his green card, and kicking him out of the country, all because he protested the mass slaughter of babies as a Palestinian at Columbia University. And this is all being done under orders from Miriam Adelson, who's been hailed by the Jerusalem Post in the past month as a modern-day Rothschild who is using her money to dictate the Trump administration's policy. I mean, they said it directly right there. It's like a wet dream for anti-Semites to look at this. Next will come citizens being arrested. I'm sure of it. It's already happening in Europe. And Judge, we talked in our last interview about my interrogation or questioning at Dulles International Airport. I wasn't exactly sure what it was about. I was trying to be conservative in my assessment. But now it's clear to me. I was presented with a list of names of Palestine solidarity activists. It was 3 a.m. It was hard for me to remember. I remembered one name as Mohammed Khan. They're handwritten. That name very well could have been Mahmoud Khalil, but it was very clear that I was being given names that were furnished to the Trump administration, to the Department of Homeland Security and ICE by a fascistic Zionist group, Beitar, which is collecting lists. I mean, it's been credited by The Guardian and other news outlets with collecting the lists that the Trump administration is relying on for arrests and deportation solely based on political activity. What is their argument? That there is no due process and no freedom of speech for permanent residents or visa holders? Well, once they erode that right, then the First Amendment is completely eroded and they'll move in on the rest of us. They already moved in on me to some degree by holding me and questioning me to collect intelligence on their more immediate targets. So they're doing this. What is their argument? Well, once they erode that right, then the First Amendment is completely eroded and they'll move in on the rest of us. They already moved in on me to some degree by holding me and questioning me to collect intelligence on their more immediate targets. So yes, and they're doing this on behalf of Israel. It's never been more obvious. We are living under a kind of Zionist occupation, and our most cherished freedoms are being taken away. It reminds me distinctly of the post 9/11 era, where there were mass arrests of Muslim activists for supporting Palestine. They were thrown in jail. I'm thinking about the Holy Land Foundation directors, Samuel Arian, so many others, and a blitz of pro-war propaganda on outlets like Fox News. Turn on Fox News now. They've removed Tucker. It's a pro-war extravaganza. Entire base of bootlicking cultists who will support anything the president does. The one thing that's missing, it also kind of reminds me of the COVID era a little bit.
Yeah.
The one thing that's missing is what Paul Wolfowitz called weeks before 9/11, a catastrophic and catalyzing event, which would give the president a free hand to impose a state of emergency.
Oh, good
That is what
Lord.
Donald Trump seeks, and they can make that happen.
On that scary note, we'll end, Max. I had other things I wanted to talk